right, how about number 16 coming from this worksheet? Now, if you look at it, I've already kind of cheated and jumped ahead, but I made it, you could do this again with inverse matrices or with augmented. Augmented is quick, but inverse is also really kind of fun. So here's the inverse matrix. You see, I see the coefficient matrix where I just pulled out all the X, Y, Z coefficients. Then you have your variable matrix, which is the XYZ, and then you have your constant matrix, your answers. And if you did matrix multiplication here, this would make sense. You'd have negative 2x minus y and 0z equals negative 1. So the matrix makes sense. The equation makes sense. Now the fun part, right? The fun part is to call this matrix A and this matrix B, and I'll still call this one, the XYZ. So let's just call it X. Now, if you had that equation and you were trying to solve for X, you'd be like, hey, divide both sides by A. Well, we can't do that in matrices. So again, I'm going to multiply by the inverse. So I'm going to just do A inverse here. On this side, then they knock each other out, become a 1. And then I have to put A inverse on this side. Now be careful, A inverse has to go on the left-hand side of that side of the equation because it went on the left-hand side of the equation on the left. So at the left side and the right side, the inverse has to go on the left-hand side of both sides of the equation. That sounds confusing, but I hope it makes sense. So there it is, right? So now I'm just going to go ahead and use a calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my calculator and I'm going to type in, you know how to get there, right? You go second matrix and you then go over to edit and you pick matrix 1. So you hit a 1 and you type in a 3 by 3 and you put in matrix A. Then make sure you quit second matrix, quit out of there. And then go back second matrix and go over to edit and pick number 2 this time. It is a 3 by 1. Notice it draws it on there. And then put in your numbers, -1, enter, -12, enter, and 4, enter. Now, you might be asking, hey, don't do this on a calculator, do it by hand. Inverse of a 3 by 3 is difficult by hand, so that's why we do this only on the calculator. And now I go ahead and quit out. Now, how do I get this in the calculator? I just got to call them up. So second matrix, I'm going to call it matrix A, which is 1, but I want the inverse of it, right? So I'm going to hit the inverse button, that little x to the -1. So now that's A inverses. If you want to see it, you could hit enter and it would show it to you and you'd be like, woo, right? That's disgusting because it's probably not a pretty answer. And then I'm going to just multiply that with matrix B. So you could hit times, or I'm just going to hit B, because the calculator knows if they're next to each other, it's going to multiply them. So there's A inverse times B. I'm going to hit enter, get a disgusting answer, right? But if I hit second, or I'm sorry, not second, just math. So I just did not want to hit that. I just want to hit math. And then the first one is change to fraction. Enter, enter. There it is, 7 ninths, -5 ninths, and 26 ninths. And I check my answer, and they're the same. So I'm feeling pretty good. Hope that works. Stay happy.